Washington is seeing some of the lowest temperatures in about 20 years. It is not 9 below as it is out there in Minneapolis, but we want to thank Senator Harry Reid for braving the cold to come inside and join us. Senator Reid, thank you. We
really
don't see
pleasure.
you very often. We hope we'll see you often, though, during this new year. Let's start out by talking about unemployment benefits. It ran out for 1.3 million Americans in December. You have said, the president has said this is going to be one of the priority items here. It's also going to cost $26 billion for the year. Republicans are already saying no way unless you agree to somehow offset that with spending cuts. Are you willing to negotiate on that?
This is typical for Republican members of Congress. Not Republicans, but Republican members of Congress. The vast majority of American people believe that unemployment benefits should be extended. Never with unemployment like this have we ever even considered not extending them. And John McCain, chief economic advisor during his presidential campaign, Mark Zandi said for every dollar we spend on unemployment benefits, the government and the country gets back 50 cents extra. It's so important to do this. The gross domestic product would be increased by $23 billion. It's the right thing to do. We have long-term unemployment, and that's why the American people support this. Democrats, independents, and Republicans.
Well, Senator, you praised the budget deal back in December for reducing the deficit. You said that's something that had to be done, but aren't you just undoing that now with this?
Bob, the place we always look to find out what's happening with the deficit is Bowles-Simpson. They set a goal of $4 trillion. We've already approached $9 trillion. And if we did comprehensive immigration reform, it would be taken care of. We'd be at $4 trillion. So it seems to me that we should start focusing, as we have, on reducing the debt. We've done that, but let's start focusing on helping the middle class. We have a situation in America today that is really not good. The last 30 years, the top 1% of Americans and their income and wealth has increased 300%. The middle class during that same 30 years has lost almost 10%. We've got to turn this around. I want the economy to be good. I want people to be rich, and I have nothing against rich people. But the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, the middle class is being squeezed out of existence.
Well, let me just ask you about a straight-out political question here. If the Republicans try to filibuster this, and so far I think there's only one Republican senator that has said he's ready to go along with you on this, do you have the votes to block a filibuster on this?
It seems to me that here we have a bipartisan bill. We have one of the liberal members of the Senate, Jack Reid of Rhode Island, and one of the conservative members of the Senate, Dean Heller from Nevada. They say we should extend these unemployment benefits. And they're right.
But that's the only Republican, am I not?
Well, but remember, there's 55 of us, and there's 45 of them. It would seem to me that 5 Republicans in the Senate should agree with the Republicans around the country. Republicans around America want us to do something to extend these benefits. Why? Because it's good for the economy. It's good for the country. Every one of these people that's long-term unemployed, they get one of these checks. They spend the money. They don't put it in the bank. It helps small business. That's why small business favor this. The same reason they favor doing something about minimum wage. They know it's good for the economy. And so Republicans in Congress have to get away from being Republicans in Congress. Background checks. 90% of Americans want that. Republicans in Congress oppose it. Extending unemployment benefits. 75% of Americans want that done. Republicans in Congress oppose it. Extending minimum wage. Same thing.
Well, you know,
I mean, they're just not, they're out of touch with what's going on in America today.
Let me just ask you this, Senator. I think most people would say that the last meeting of Congress was probably the least productive. Maybe in history, it's certainly the least productive that I can remember. What you seem to be saying to me is, listen, we're in for the absolute same thing. Nothing much is going to change here.
Bob, unless the Republicans in Congress decide they should do something for the American people, I'm sorry to say that's true. Rating of Congress is down. If somebody called me in a poll, I would vote with them. This is awful what's been going on. And that's the reason, Bob, that we had to change the rules. They were even opposing people who were part of Obama's team. Never in the history of the country. To show you how out of line this has gotten, my predecessor, one of my predecessors, Lyndon Johnson, was leader for 6 years. He had to overcome 1 or 2 filibusters. Me, 430 filibusters. Things have gotten way out of whack, and that's why we changed the rules. And now we say, majority, that's not such a bad word, is it? Majority is going to determine who can be on President Obama's team. The founding fathers, you know, this filibuster that they so love is not part of the Constitution. It's not a privilege, it's a right.
Let me ask you this.
I'm sorry, it's a privilege, not a right. And Bob, just also I want to just say this. The founding fathers, they decided what should be a supermajority, you know, impeachments and stuff like that. One of them wasn't approving nominations. Well, let
me just ask you this. I mean, listening to you this morning, if Republicans continue to throw up the kind of opposition you've been receiving, you say you've been receiving, do you have plans to extend this ban on filibusters? Right now, you've worked out this rule, which they vehemently oppose, it's very difficult for them to filibuster nominations. Would you be willing to just go to a Senate where you just majority rules and that's it?
Well, Bob, I think it's something that we have to understand.
So you're thinking about that?
That's this. We cannot have a country that's paralyzed because of a group of people. The group of people, who are they? Tea Party-driven Republicans in Congress. Not Republicans. I'm not here to badmouth the Republicans around the country. I get a lot of support from Republicans in Nevada, and always have had. But they're mainstream Republicans. They're not driven by this craziness that we have in America today. So the answer is this. We should pass raising the minimum wage. We should extend unemployment benefits. We should get rid of these tax loopholes and create jobs so the middle class can start growing, not shrinking.
But would you do away with filibusters entirely?
Well, we're not there yet. I think that we.
I mean, are you even thinking about that?
No, I'm not thinking about it today. But I think
you're saying you're holding that out. Is that as a possibility?
I think everyone should understand that the country cannot continue on the road that it's on. It cannot have. You cannot have, when you have vacancies in the judiciary, as we've had, D.C. Circuit. Some say it's more important than the Supreme Court, but it's at least the second most important. They said, we're not going to fill these spots because we don't want to. You can't. That's not the way we legislate.
Do you think that the minimum wage will pass? Can you get the votes to pass an increase in the minimum wage?
I think that there are 5 Republicans. Dean Heller plus 4 Republicans. Remember, Dean Heller is not some maverick that is out spewing socialism. Here's a guy who's really a conservative person, and he wants to extend unemployment benefits. I admire him for doing that. And can we get 4 Republicans agree with the American people that we should do that? I would certainly hope so.
So you're saying that that's still very much in doubt because you can't get 4 Republicans?
Well, I'm saying hopefully we can get 4 more Republicans. Gee whiz, I mean, this is something we've never stopped unemployment benefits.
Let me just ask you quickly, getting back to the budget agreement we talked about that you all made in December. You have just 2 weeks to get those funds appropriated and allocated to get the whole package through the Congress again. Do you think that that's going to happen?
Bob, the answer is yes, but let me just say this as a cautionary note.
Because if you don't,
a cautionary note.
You don't raise the debt ceiling.
Yes, I understand. A cautionary note. What was done by Congressman Ryan and Senator Murray was historic. It's wonderful that these 2 people on opposite sides of the political spectrum got together and did good work. I will always admire them for that. And we should get the appropriation now. We got Mikulski. She's doing a great job with it, and she's working with the counterpart in the House. But, Bob, I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? It was just a matter of a couple months ago that 2/3 of the Republicans in the House of Representatives voted to keep the government closed and default on the debt. So I hope we can get this done, but I am really concerned about what's going on with Republicans in Congress. Repeat to your viewers. 2/3 of the people in the House of Representatives, the Republicans, voted to close the government, keep it closed more than 16 days, and default on our debt. I want this to pass. I hope it does. It should. that we have an omnibus appropriation bill, but I don't know.
What do you think about the future of Obamacare? Republicans were willing to shut down the government in an effort to kill it. They didn't do it. Then it had this disastrous rollout when this is an election year for a bunch of your Democrats in the Senate, 21 of them, up 21
of us,
seats.
14 of them.
Yeah.
Bob,
will Democrats run as proud sponsors of Obamacare, or will they run away from it?
it's interesting. I can't come here and say the rollout was great. It was awful. But let's look where we are today. The website's been fixed. Perfect? No. But right now, as we speak, there are 9 million Americans, 9 million Americans who have health care that didn't have it before. We have, as you know, we have 3 million Medicare. We have 3 million on their policies because they're at reach age. They haven't reached age 26. They can stay on their parents' policy. And we have more than 2 million. They're coming. I talked to the President Chief of Staff a day or two ago, Dennis McDonough. They're coming on at the rate of 30,000 a day. I think we're going to have some staggering numbers, even more than this, come April 1st. So, we're at 9 million already. It's the law. Is that important? Of course. Women are no longer considered a pre-existing disability. Seniors, the donut holes being filled, they can have their checks, they can do pap smears, all this stuff that women couldn't do before. Insurance companies can't cancel you for no reason. We have...
so anyway, you think it's going to work?
It's already working. Right. And Republicans should get a life and start talking about doing something constructively. Right. All they talk about is how bad Obamacare is. They don't talk about doing anything to improve it.
Well, we've got a couple of them in the wings here, and we'll see what they say about it. Mr. Leader, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having you. And now